Bible study time. I am still in the book of Esther. We'll be here for a little bit. So let's see. I did write some notes on Esther so far. I basically have only read the first 22 verses. But one thing that stands out to me is that King Xerxes was focused on wealth and power. So sometimes there are kings that are heavily influenced by the Lord and they do right by God. And then there are some kings that let the wealth and power get to their heads and they definitely do not do right by God. So, and then Vashti was the first queen that King Xerxes had. No sound though.
Not playing.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I love you.
I'm just trying to find the green bouncy ball.
Oh, it's in the bathroom by the toilet.
Okay.
I love you.
Yeah.
The green bouncy ball. Vashti was the first queen that King Xerxes had, and Vashti had a backbone. One of the first kind of stories in the book of Esther is on Vashti, and it is basically the king wanted to put Vashti on display for his other royal colleagues to gawk at. And the king and all of his colleagues were very drunk. And so normally the queen cannot. Did you find it?
This is not green.
What color is that?
Yellow.
Okay, it is a little more yellow. I see green, but it's yellow too. You're looking for the dark green bouncy ball.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one. We were playing with it upstairs. Did you look under the couch upstairs?
Yeah.
Huh. It's got to be up there somewhere.
Okay.
Okay. Love you so much.
Love you.
So yes, basically the king requested her presence in her royal crown to show off her body, and Vashti said no thank you and did not come. And what ended up happening was that she embarrassed the king in front of all of his colleagues. And these weren't necessarily colleagues, these were other kings that he was trying to display his wealth and power to prior to initiating war with some of them. So Vashti definitely hurt the king's ego. And so then the royal court decided that Vashti is no longer welcome in the king's presence, and they got rid of her, and then they started looking for other queens. So yay for Vashti though. Like that had to have been a hard no to say. I mean, maybe it wasn't. Maybe she was fed up. Maybe she was over it and just was like, you know, I'm not doing that. But that took a lot of strength, because not every woman has that type of backbone against a man, especially a king. So today I am reading Esther 2, 1 through 18. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Esther made a queen. So here comes Esther into the picture. Later, when King Xerxes' fury had subsided, he remembered Vashti and what she had done and what he had decreed about her. Then the king's personal attendants proposed, let a search be made for a beautiful young virgins of the let a search be made for beautiful young virgins for the king. Let the king appoint commissioners in every province of his realm to bring all these beautiful young women into the harem at the citadel of Susa. Let them be placed under the care of Haggai, the king's eunuch, who is in charge of the women, and let beauty treatments be given to them. Then let the young woman who pleases the king be queen instead of Vashti. This advice appealed to the king, and he followed it. And that's always the funny thing about kings is they basically just have a group of people that seem to be telling them what to do or offering them suggestions, trying to persuade them. And then the king will just pick whatever one he decides he likes best. And obviously in this situation, a group of young groomed virgins is a great idea in his mind. So, verse 5, now there was in the citadel of Susa a Jew of the tribe of Benjamin named Mordecai, son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, who had been carried into exile from Jerusalem by Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, among those taken captain with Jehoiachin, king of Judah. Mordecai had a cousin named Hadassah, whom he had brought up because she had neither father nor mother. This young woman who was also known as Esther, had a lovely figure, was beautiful. Mordecai had taken her as his own daughter when her father and mother died. Hello, my handsome boy.
Mom, look at your screen.
What?
Find the hamster.
That looks like a fun game. Have you guys played it?
No.
Oh, well, you should go play it.
Where we play Girl
What
Garden?
was it?
On my desk.
Ah!
Where we play Girl Garden? That game sucks.
No, you don't like Girl Garden?
No.
Mhm.
That game sucks.
Lee plays Girl Garden.
Okay,
Ew.
boys, you gotta go find something to do.
Go going back.
Yeah.
Girl Garden, you guys don't like, but Girl Garden has 6, 7 on it.
I know.
Or we don't say 6, 7 anymore.
No.
No. Okay.
They got an update now. Cause they still on 6-7.
Okay. Ah. Go get out of here. Go find something to do for a little bit. Did you clean up your plate from your pancake?
I'm a pancake.
There's one more pancake on the counter if you want it. You guys can split it.
No. I said.
Okay. All right, boys. Go find something to do, please. I don't want this to take forever. Okay, where were we? Okay. This young woman was also known as Esther, but I want to pause there and kind of talk about, I like to read these little notes that correspond to the biblical text. It really helps understand and provide context on what you read. And sometimes things are like, you just skim over it, and then there's like a whole little thing down here, and you're like, oh, I would have never known that. So, on verses 2:1, it says, the phrase, he remembered Vashti, may mean that the king began to miss his queen and what she had done for him, but he also remembered that in his anger he had banished her from his presence with a decree that could not be rescinded, which means taken back. Like, so in this time, once a king said something, they just basically couldn't take it back. The notes on verses 2, 3, and then it says 14 through 17. So this could also pertain to verses late through the whole thing. So I'm not going to read, well, I will. It'll be like a little prequel. Persian kings collected not only vast amounts of jewelry, but also great numbers of women. These young virgins were taken from their homes and were required to live in separate buildings near the palace called a harem. Their sole purpose was to serve the king and to await his call for sexual pleasure. They rarely saw the king, and their lives were restricted and boring. If rejected, Esther would be one of the many girls the king had seen once and forgotten. But Esther's presence and beauty pleased the king enough that he crowned her queen in place of Vashti. The queen held more influential position than a concubine, and she was given more freedom and authority than the others in the harem. But even as queen, Esther had few rights, especially because she had been chosen to replace a woman who had become too assertive for the king's liking. On verses 5 through 6, Mordecai was a Jew. The Jewish population had increased since their exile over 100 years earlier. They had been given great freedom and were allowed to run their own businesses and hold positions in government. On verse 6, the Bible says that Mordecai's family had been carried into exile from Jerusalem by Nebuchadnezzar. If this referred to Mordecai himself, he would have been over 100 years old at the time of this story. Most likely, this means that Mordecai's grandparents or great-grandparents had been carried into captivity rather than Mordecai himself. Okay. I mean, these are just good little tidbits to know. Sometimes it resonates. Sometimes you're just like, okay, thank you for the info. Nonetheless, we're going to allow the Lord to continue speaking to us through these words on this page and keep it moving. So we are, yes. This young woman was also known as Esther, a lovely figure, and was beautiful. Mordecai had taken her as his own daughter when her father and mother died. We are going to verse 18, so basically the rest of this. Okay. When the king's order and edict, I wish I knew how to say that, had been proclaimed, many young women were brought to the citadel of Susa and put under the care of Haggai. Esther was also taken to the king's palace and entrusted to Haggai, who had charge of the harem. She pleased him and won his favor. Immediately he provided her with beauty treatments and special food. He assigned to her 7 female attendants selected from the king's palace and moved her and her attendants into the best palace in the harem. Esther had not revealed her nationality and family background because Mordecai had forbidden her to do so. Every day he walked back and forth near the courtyard of the harem to find out how Esther was and what was happening to her. Before a young woman's turn came to go into King Xerxes. Okay, hold on. So now we have Esther. She's been chosen to be, reviewed by the king in order to possibly become queen. But she's obviously treated better than the other people in the harem. I mean, you got to kind of feel bad it's kind of like how in today's age young men go to war. In this day, young women went to the harem and had to please the king if he so desired their pledge. God, this is terrible. So it's interesting that Mordecai had taken her as his own when her father and mother died. So Mordecai is kind of like Esther's father. Esther was also taken to the king's palace and entrusted to Haggai. She pleased him and won his favor. Immediately he provided her with beauty treatments and special food. He assigned her 7 female attendants from the king's palace and moved her and her attendants to the best place in the harem. Verse 10, Esther had not revealed her nationality or her family background because Mordecai had forbidden her to do so. You're going outside to do what?
Do one thing.
To do something and then come back in.
Whoa!
Okay, that's okay. Please put your shoes and your coat on.
Okay.
Okay?
Bet.
And stay in the yard. Every day he walked back and forth near the courtyard of the harem to find out how Esther was and what was happening to him. So Mordecai really did care about Esther quite a bit. Which is interesting that, see, this is where I struggle. He cared about her, but he knew what the king did to his queens. So I just wonder why he would put Esther in that situation if he cared about her. But nonetheless, before a young woman's turn came to go into King Xerxes, she had to complete 12 months of beauty treatments prescribed for the women, 6 months of oil, myrrh, and 6 with perfumes and cosmetics. That's crazy because in this world, we just don't have that kind of time. You would not waste a whole year slathering yourself in oil and perfume before getting to, I mean, maybe. And I think that's 12 months of beauty treatments. Like, She was already pretty, good Lord. And this is how she would go to the king. Anything she wanted was given her to take. Anything she wanted was given her to take. Oh, I think I just found a typo. Anything she wanted was given to her to take with her from the harem to the king's palace. In the evening she would go there, and in the morning she returned to another part of the harem to the care of Shashgaz, the king's eunuch, who was in charge of the concubines. She would not return to the king unless he was pleased with her and summoned her by name. When the turn came for Esther, the young woman Mordecai had adopted, the daughter of his uncle Abihail, to go to the king, she asked for nothing other than what Haggai, the king's eunuch, was in charge of the harem, suggested, and Esther won the favor of everyone who saw her. So, it kind of seems like this is not just the king's opinion of what girl to choose as the queen. It's like a lot of people had a say in this. She was taken to King Xerxes in the royal residence in the 10th month of the month of Tebeth in the 7th year of his reign. Okay. Now the king was attracted to Esther more than to any other woman. Okay, great. Esther was beautiful and has won over the king. And she won his favor and approval more than any of the other virgins. So he set a royal crown on her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. And the king gave a great banquet, Esther's banquet, for all his nobles and officials. He proclaimed a holiday throughout the provinces and distributed gifts with royal liberality. Okay. So basically, Vashti is now out of the picture. They took a bunch of virgins, pampered them up, brought them to the king. Esther was, from the very beginning, front runner. They chose Esther to be queen. Here we are. So a couple other notes on, let's see, verses 8 through 9 was Haggai the eunuch's special care for Esther was a great gift to her. What about Esther impressed Haggai? She showed him wisdom and accepted his advice. Because of Esther's wise choices, a connection was made. When you are placed in a job or a role not of your choosing, seek out those who can help you. Show them respect and see how God can work through them. Yes, so Esther seemed very smart right off the bat and was like, I'm just going to listen and obey and kind of follow the lead of these people because obviously they influence the king a lot. So, I think sometimes she could have let her ego get in the way and been very much like, oh, no, I want this, that, and the third. But Vashti had already done that, and that would have gotten Esther kicked to the curb. So, on verse 10 is Esther had not revealed her nationality and family background because Mordecai had forbidden her to do so. It says, with virtually no rights and little access to the king, it was better for Esther not to reveal her identity. While boldness in stating our identity as God's people is our responsibility, at times a good strategy is to keep quiet until we have won the right to be heard. Ooh, won the right to be heard. I don't think we should have to win a right to be heard, but that is definitely the world we live in. This is especially true when dealing with those in authority over us, but we can always let them see the difference God makes in our lives. Yes, so when people look at you like they don't understand you, you're a little bit different, something is different, it is God. It is God. It is God. It is God. On verses 16 through 17, they were talking about she was taken to King Xerxes in the royal residence in the 10th month, the month of Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign. Now the king was attracted to Esther more than any other woman, and she won his favor and approval more than any of the other virgins. So he set a royal crown on her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. I love that they have to add that. Esther must have made quite an impression. Many beautiful women were available to please the king, but he chose Esther. Her beauty must have come with something more. While many young girls want to be princesses, it is important to teach them that a life devoted to God and care for others are essential beauty traits to strive for. Amen to that. For verse 17, God placed Esther on the throne even before the Jews faced the possibility of complete destruction, so that when trouble came, a person would already be in the position to help. No human effort could thwart God's faithfulness to protect his chosen people and his plan to send the Messiah to earth as a Jew. If you are changing jobs, positions, or locations and don't immediately see God's purpose in your situation, understand that God is in control. He may be placing you in a position so you can help when the need arises. Awesome. So, I just really like that. Okay, so we have read the verses, read the notes on the verses. Now we're going to answer these questions and these questions. Yay! This is not so bad, huh? Okay, so Xerxes selected Esther as his queen. From verses 1 through 4, how was a new queen selected? A new queen was selected by gathering by, what's 1 through 4 before I just assume? It says, let a search be made for beautiful young virgins for the king. Let the king appoint commission in every province to bring all these beautiful young women to the... I mean, that's what's crazy, is it kind of seems like Esther was favored prior to bringing all these young, beautiful virgins that ended up in the harem. It just... Okay. Okay, so by gathering a ton of local virgins, and then giving them beauty treatments. I mean, this just had to be so fun for the king to just look over all these beautiful women who have been pampered. I just hate this. Giving them beauty treatments and letting the king choose. And one thing is, like, the king was heavily influenced to choose Esther. It seems like. It seems like his eunuchs were very much involved in the process of choosing Esther as queen. How did Esther and Mordecai enter the story in chapter 2? What important details are given in verses 5 through 7? So Mordecai was close to the king, and Mordecai had a cousin. Mordecai was close to the king, and he had a... Wait, it says cousin. But then it ended up being he kind of adopted her. He must be much older. He had a cousin / daughter, Esther. Right? Am I right in that? Mordecai had a cousin named Hadassah, whom he brought up because she had neither... So it's interesting that they call her Hadassah, but then also Esther. This young woman was also known as Esther. She had a lovely figure. Daughter, cousin, her mother and father died. Mordecai adopted her. Why might Mordecai have instructed Esther to keep her Jewish heritage a secret? I thought I read something on that. I think they probably wouldn't have chose her if they knew she was Jewish. Is my guess. That there could be more to that. Have chosen her if they knew she was a Jew. All right. The government and Jewish people have always kind of like worked together, but never really gotten along. So like they kind of stand like we're Jewish people, you know, believe God and worship God. The government has always kind of worshipped itself, and put itself on the highest throne. So I think that's the difference, really. How was Esther treated when she was taken into the royal harem? Esther was treated like royalty right away. She was treated like royalty right away. When did Xerxes respond to Esther? Or how did Xerxes respond to Esther? Xerxes loved Esther. And chose her to be queen. When have you experienced God's favor in ways you did not anticipate? When I have experienced God's favor in ways I have not anticipated. We have been very blessed by someone in our lives that, you know, we didn't seek out, we didn't ask for, it just kind of happened. And, yeah, I didn't expect it, but here we are. Enough said. So yeah, I think that's it for today's Bible study. I think the takeaway is mostly that God was setting something up here with Esther. So Vashti kind of came through and hurt the king's ego, and then they had to find a new queen. Well, the new queen they found, they were so focused on her beauty. How beautiful is she? How submissive is she? So Esther really did herself a favor by just kind of doing whatever she was counseled to do. It showed that she was moldable, and that's exactly what they wanted as a queen. So I don't know the rest of the story, but I know that Esther is portrayed as a very strong woman. So I cannot wait to learn more about what Esther does with King Xerxes, following Vashti, because Vashti kind of set the stage for that, and now here's Esther coming in, and she's beautiful, she's submissive, but will she stay that way? I wonder.